Not too bad. So we are going to start on page 75, number 2. We're looking at this number, 7 and 209 thousandths. All right, and we are going to round to the ones place to we begin with. All right, so I have a number line. It asks you to show your thinking on a number line. So please draw that number line. We're going to put our ones place at the bottom, right? And then we're going to think what is one more, and that's going to go at the top. And then halfway between is when we're going over to our next place, and it's going to be 7.5. 7 and 5/10 would be halfway. And then we're going to say to ourselves, where does our number go? And you can see our number lands right there, right? Because it has 2/10. And here we have 5/10, and here we have no tenths, right? 7 and 0/10. So then we have to think, well, is it closer to our 7 or is it closer to our 8? Remember, our 7.5 is here just to show us if it was 7.5 or bigger, it would be closer to 8. So this is just to show us closer then. And you are correct, it is closer to 7. So at the bottom of your page where it says 7 and 209 thousandths is, right, estimated, the squiggly equal sign, not equal to, but estimated close to 7. Please write that in. All right, now we're going to use the same one, except now we're going to round to the nearest tenths, and that's on page 76B. So go ahead and think about what you need to have on your vertical number line. All right, like I said, we're going to be phasing out our vertical number line, but we are still using it right now to make sure that we're understanding. Here is our number line. Okay, so we have our tenths place at the bottom, 7 and 2/10. We're not dealing with our hundredths and our thousandths right now. You could put your finger right over your hundredths and your thousandths place because that's not important to us right now. Then we're saying, what's 1/10 more? That would be 7 and 3/10. And what's halfway between 7 and 2/10 and 7 and 3/10? 7 and 25 hundredths, right? It's always going to be a 5 halfway, right? Okay, and you're having that written down. If I'm going too fast for you, pause the video and write it down. You have that capability. And where does this number land? 7 and 2/10 and 0 hundredths. It's going to be right there. 7, 2/10 and 0 hundredths, right? And 9 thousandths. So it's just a little bit above our 7 and 2/10, but it's definitely below here. So rounding this number to our closest tenths, it's going to be right here, 7 and 2/10. So make sure that you're writing that down. Make sure you have a picture of the number line on your page. All right, make sure you're copying that down. All right, and then we're going to round to the nearest hundredths place, and that's part C on the next page, page 76. All right, so we have a number line. We're thinking 7 and 20 hundredths. I'd like to put the 0 here just to show the 20 hundredths, right? Because our hundredths is a 0. And 1/100th up would be 7 and 21 hundredths. Halfway between, we have to look one more to the right. We have a 5 there because that's halfway between, right? So where is our number going to go? See where our number lands. 7 and 20 hundredths and 9 thousandths, right? So you can see here's 5 thousandths. So 9 thousandths would be up here. If you want, you can always add more zeros, right? If that helps you to see 7,210 thousandths, 7,209 thousandths, right? So that's to help us to see how it's one more there. It helps us to see how it fits here. Okay, so we started with the same decimal number each time, right? The same number, 7 and 209 thousandths. Did we get the same answer each time that we rounded? Why? And you're right, we did not get the same answer because we rounded to a different place. So if we round to the ones, we're only going to have a 1 answer. If we round to the tenths, we're going to have a 1 and a tenths. If we round to the hundredths, we're going to have a 1 and a hundredths. Okay? How did you decide which unit to use to label the beginning and the ending tick marks on your number line? You have to use the place value that you're rounding to. Okay? So if I'm rounding to the nearest hundredths, I want to have hundredths here, and I want to have hundredths here. And then I have to take my middle out to the next one, which would be thousandths. Okay? So let me get out of this page, and I'm going to go back to lesson 8. And now, just as like with whole numbers, right? Just as like with whole numbers, we can round decimal numbers without drawing a number line, of course. We can think about the number line and use the place value understanding to round, okay? So let's look at that's the one we just did. It does help to use a place value chart, like I'm always saying, right? Please use place value charts. And let's look at number 3. Oh, sorry, I don't want to be on number 3 yet. I want to look at this number. There we go. 48 and 743 thousandths. Please ignore the the period at the end of the sentence, right? 48 and 743 thousandths. And if we want to round that to the nearest 10, yeah, we want to round that to the nearest 10. I'm going to go ahead and get my pen. And if you, when you're doing these, put your finger or something over the numbers that don't matter, because I'm just looking at the tens place. So everything over here doesn't matter. I do need the number that's right next door. Yeah? So think about that. 48. Is it closer to 50 or is it closer to 40? Right? I'm going to say 40. That's where I'm starting. 10 more. One more 10. That would be 50. Halfway would be 45, right? I'm thinking about this in my head. I could write it down if I needed to. That's fine. You can still draw a vertical number line. Don't feel like you can't, but we're just trying to move into mental math more. Okay? So the nearest 10 is going to be 50, right? Okay? That's something that's not new to 5th graders, but we're just starting there because we're doing it in our mind. Now, if we're using the same number and we're going to the nearest hundredth, okay? And I'm just going to take out that period so you don't get confused. Now, I'm going to go to the nearest hundredth place, right? Okay, if I'm going to go to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to think about 48 and 74 hundredths being at the bottom. One more hundredth up, 48 and 75 hundredths, halfway between 48 and 745 thousandths, right? Okay, so my 3 tells me that I'm closer to 48 and 74 hundredths. That's going to be my closest hundredth. All right, nice job. And remember, squiggly line to show that it is an estimate. If I'm going to do the ones place, I would look at my number right next to my ones place. If I'm going to do my tenths place, I'd look at my number right to the tenths place. So you're always looking to the number that's to the right of the place that you're rounding. Okay? There's number 3, A, B, C, and D in your book. Please do that on your own. Ask for help if you need it. I'll see you in the next video.